Hello, and welcome back to the Ask the Color Expert podcast. Today's special guest is Lacey Gebo. She is a former hairstylist, owner of Salon Lace in Oklahoma, and she created LG Education, under which she has the Assistant University and many more products that we're going to talk about today. She specializes in teaching you how to recruit, hire, and train assistants. And wow, do we need you, Lacey? I am so excited about this episode. She also has an amazing podcast that I listened to this morning before she joined me to make sure that I didn't slaughter her last name. And it is called Level Up with Lacey. So be sure to check out all of those things after you listen to our chat together. So, Lacey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today and talk to you about all things assistants and just the beauty industry. So I'm excited. Thank you.
I love it. In my opinion, I'm always going to be the rebel rouser. I think the industry right now is the wild, wild west. I feel like an old ancient person when I say, what is going on? I was such a rule follower. I never rented chairs in my salon because it wasn't legal in Pennsylvania. I never let my stylist do hair at home. There was no kitchen beautician going on. Since the pandemic, it is a free for all. I've never seen so much disconnectedness, so much, people will just start an app and be like, we're mobile hairstylists. It's like the Uber of hairstylists. I'm like, when did that become legal?
Yeah.
There's a girl that has a course on being a traveling stylist and working out of Costa Rica and London and France. I'm like, that's not legal either. And I feel like such a nerd that I'm such a rule follower, but it's such a complete 360 change in what I was used to.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say, I don't think all of it's great. Sometimes the rules are there for a reason.
Yeah.
So how have you felt with that? And I'm sure you've seen the biggest disconnect is people coming out of school saying, I'm going right into a suite without the education that they need to be there. Hence, I love that you're doing this assistant training program because that is the key, in my opinion, to everyone's success behind the chair is having that assistant time.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely led to my success. So when I go back to when I first started doing hair, 2009, 2010, like I always say, I wouldn't have stuck with this industry and I would have never stayed doing hair if it wasn't for me being an assistant because I didn't feel confident. I'm very much a black and white person and hair was gray. I was like, I don't understand how to cut. Like, what does this color do? Like, I didn't know anything like anyone coming out of school. And so I went through an assistant program for about 6 months. And that's where my love came from, like teaching, because someone taught me, someone took me under their wing. And I'm so grateful for that because it wouldn't have blossomed into this. And then a decade plus into this industry, grown to 28 employees, 2 locations, followed a system, just grew assistants, put them on the floor. So we've grown, like hundreds of people, I feel like inside my company, hundreds. And I was like, this is no longer working. I think there was a disconnect. I felt like it from like 2016, 17, 18, where what we were doing was no longer working because I think our people felt like they were getting capped in like our system. Like they were like, I can't grow anymore in your company. Peace out, I'm going booth rent. So we had like a massive walkout. And I was like, this system is no longer working. So I was like, there has to be a better way to grow people. And so then 2020 hit, and that's kind of where all of this sparked from is like, we couldn't do hair. And I was at home and I was like, my assistant at the time, Kaylee, I was like, hey, what if I'll pay you. We got the PPP loan. I was like, come in. I was like, if you can, let's film some videos. And so we started filming and recording videos. And I said, if every salon had a massive resource library of how to do things, even down to just like policies, like what is your dress code? What about maternity leave? What about the handbook? What does the proper greeting look like? How to make coffee? Like we filmed, I think over 250 videos during the pandemic because we couldn't work. So what else are we going to do? So we started recording these videos and that's when like a light bulb went off and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what small businesses don't have this, but if you go and apply and work at Target or McDonald's or any corporation, you're going to watch a series of onboarding training videos. And so we've kind of built this digital assistant program since 2020 and it's taken off because people are like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. And we're bringing it to small businesses. Like your business and my business is like, we teach people how to build this resource library. So you have an onboarding training and it's consistent through all of your team members. So it's been
I
a
love
journey.
it
Yeah.
because most owners now in this climate, in the salon climate, I just spoke with one yesterday. She's devastated. She's a Summit salon. She did the Summit system very successfully. She had someone ready to buy in to do the stock and all of that. And instead of buying into her business, she had full access to all of the client information because she was her right arm. She was like a very important part of the staff. She, plugged a zip drive in, sucked all the information out, took staff, and went and opened another salon. So a lot of salon owners, we've been you talked about a walkout. I had a walkout. You had a walkout. I don't know a hairdresser that's been in the industry more than 15 years as an owner that hasn't had a walkout,
Been in
especially
it
now.
long enough, you've had a walkout.
You've had a
It's
walkout.
gonna
I
happen.
remember reading about it in magazines. I was like, oh, what's that? I'm never going to have that. My girls are
Yeah.
like
Nope.
my best friends,
Yeah.
So it happens. And I think once that happens to you, you're forever changed.
Yeah.
And you're very gun shy about putting your time and energy into training the next person because all you're thinking about is how soon are you leaving me? How soon are you taking this information I'm giving you and
Yeah.
taking it elsewhere? So I love that you've taken the burden off of the owner where we can say, okay, Lacey, I have a new person I'm onboarding. I need her to get into the program. She needs to have all the things. Now, my daughter took over my salon when I moved to Florida 5 years, almost 6 years ago. And she went to college. She's very systems oriented. I'm very like, oh, yeah, you need off tomorrow. Yeah. And then I forget that I told them I had off, no systems, willy nilly. She was very structured. So, like you, during the pandemic, she was like, I never want to have to onboard another person and explain this thing. So I'm just going to jump on and create SOPs and all the things. So when I just hired a new manager just last week, I just sent her the link to the drive and said, here's everything. And she was able to watch it on her own time. And she's starting today as her first day. And I don't have that sick feeling in my stomach of like, oh my gosh, nobody's there to onboard her. I'm in Florida. How's she going to know what to do? I know she's going to know what to do because she has everything to refer to in a video. And she has the other staff members who've also been through all of the training.
Mm-hmm.
So systems, I can't tell you how many business seminars I went to in my early days of my salon and understand why things weren't working. And I would go to a business seminar and they just kept saying system, 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 the word, but they never gave me what it was.
Yeah.
And I would leave and say, what is it? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
And you're talking about exactly what it was that I was missing. So
Yeah.
every salon, whether it be a 1-person studio or a 20-person salon, needs what you have right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, but I want to go back to what you said a second ago, just at the very beginning about this industry since the pandemic, like how it's the wild, wild west and people are doing just like crazy shit now. So excuse my language, just crazy stuff. And it's so interesting because just the other day I was talking to someone about how we've been seeing like more and more educators, which is great. I think that's great. But like, do you have a leg to stand on? Have you walked the walk? You cannot talk the talk until you walk the walk. And so many people are teaching and preaching and wanting to be educators. But I'm saying, what's your stats? What has gotten you here to allow you to teach on this topic? And I've been seeing a lot of people kind of dabble more so with assistant programs in the last like 6 months than what I've seen in the last like 6 years, dabbling with it and trying to teach people how to grow a team, but they've never grown a team themselves. I'm like, it's interesting. And I'm like, I just want to speak to it freely on your podcast right now, because it's like, do not come out, try to come up with education and start a consulting and coaching program if you've never done it before yourself. Because I'm like, that's a good way to fail. I don't think you're going to be successful or creditable if you have no leg to stand on. And so I think people are I also think it's this device right here. People are so quick to want what other people have. They don't see the work being put behind it, but the trends and the grass is greener on the other side. And this device of like social media is not always a good thing. It can be a great thing to grow your business when used properly, but so many people I think go haywire of using this for the wrong reasons.
I agree. And I see it with my kid, my daughter, not so much. Like she's traveling right now. She is in Albania hiking with a friend. She won't even look at her phone for the next 9 hours. Like she's a diamond in the rough. Most people her age and under just can't even breathe if their phone is not charged or on their person. So I see it with dating. there's such a disconnect. You can't just meet someone anymore organically. Everything has to be, first texting. And there's so many things that can be misconstrued with texting. But I agree that, I teach brand free color education. So I agree with you 100%. When I first started my digital business 8 years ago, I was the only one digitally teaching hair color in a membership, with coaching. And everything went really well. People were very receptive to it. And now, I'll spend 9 months with someone laying the foundation and teaching them things. And then they'll come on a coaching call and they'll go, well, I saw this thing on TikTok. And I'm like, was it even a hairdresser? A lot of times it's not even a hairdresser and they're putting baking soda in their hair or they're doing something crazy on
Yeah.
TikTok. And I'm like, people don't ask for the background, the person's reputation, what brought them to your point. You said, like, how did they even get here to say what they're teaching? And I laugh when I hear people say, hi, my name is Elaine and I've been doing hair for 3 years and I'm here to teach you. I'm like, 3 years? Oh my gosh. Like, there's so much more to learn after 3 years. I can't imagine that that's, a good thing. So knowing that you have that foundation, you have a really large salon, you started at a very, very early age. So start with your journey on how you came to be, so passionate about this topic. Because when I tell you, I get a DM every day. I just got one yesterday. Can you please help me train my assistant? And I was like, I will talk to you tomorrow because I may have a solution. I have someone coming on the podcast. Because for me to start a whole other training on training assistants, I'm passionate about hair color. I stay in my lane. So for me, I would rather know more about you and how to recommend you than for me to reinvent the wheel.
Totally. I love that. Well, thank you. Yeah, like I said, just going back to when I started doing hair, it's like having that person mentor me really start like the passion for it. But along the way, like I learned so much. I was thrown into training an assistant, not because I really needed it at the time, but it was like the only way that you're going to grow your company is for you to train associates and put them out on the floor. And so I was 23 years old when I took my first associate and I didn't know what I was doing. I failed my first 3 assistants like bad. Like they were not great. I made a lot of mistakes. I was not a great leader, not a great mentor, not a great coach. Like I was a baby and I was still just trying to figure out how to grow a clientele. So I was thrown into it. And that is how we built our company though, is we train, put them on the floor, train, put them on the floor. But it was always like people to me were just a number. And I think that along the way, I was like, this system is not working. Like I said, we had a walkout. I split from my business partner. I rebranded my company. All of this was in 2018 and 19. And then the pandemic hit. And so I was like, there has to be a better way. And I was like, there's no training out there about assistants. Like I knew of one training for assistants and it was what we had already taken. And I took it multiple times and nothing was changing. It was still the same old training. And I was like, okay. And I was like, but now in the digital world, I was like, we have to evolve. And our assistants and people coming out of school are learning differently. And it's not monkey see, monkey do. They don't want to just come in and watch and they don't want to go through a 2-year assistant program. They want it fast. So our assistant program is pretty quick. We do coach to a 39-week program, but a lot of people are getting done in 6 months. And I mean, but it varies. Some people could take up to a year, but it's really based on when the stylist, like how quickly they can fill 3 days, like based on their demand of time. But we've started like pulling curriculum in there. And I mean, just everything's changed with digital and really building that resource library inside of our program has been a game changer. But I just knew I was like, something's not working in this industry and there's no competition. There's no training out there on how to train assistants. And I had at the time in 2020, people ask me all the time, they're like, Lacey, how'd you build your business? Lacey, how do you train assistants? Like it was constantly people asking me this. And I was like, okay, I've been doing this for almost a decade. I know what I'm doing. I've redone it from the ground up, built a whole nother business after my walkout. And I was like, okay, why don't I start putting pieces together? I'm already giving these people this information for free. So why not turn this into a whole business? And it brought me so much more success than what I ever could have imagined, where I stepped away from behind the chair. I retired from behind the chair in 2021 because LG Education and our assistant program really took off. Like, I mean, it took off like crazy when we first launched it. And we've evolved since then. It was called the Online Assistant Course. We rebranded, refilmed, added new modules, and evolved. And now it's the AU. We now have in-person training called Lead. So after you go through our 4-week training program, so it's 4 weeks. So we can guarantee you, if you follow us the modules for 4 weeks, you will have the most efficient modern assistant program inside the beauty industry. So after the AU, you can come to lead, and it's 2 days of in-person leadership development. So what we've noticed is after our salon owners are going through this and they've got 2 or 3 assistants under their belt, which you can probably attest to, is you're like, oh shoot, now what do I do?
Now
Another
what?
set of problems come along the way. Like now, after you start growing a team, you're like, oh no, like it's like new level, new devil. Now you've got other issues going on, and how do you manage people and emotions and one-on-ones? And so we have lead coming up in October. It's October 14th and 15th. And it's 2 days that we really hone in on your assistant program, but we really hone in on your leadership skills. Like what's missing and how can you become the best leader that you can become? So that's another offer that we have. And then we also fly out and film people's academies. So if you're a salon owner and you're like, I've got 2 locations, or I've got 1 location and 18 employees, can you come for 2 days, film 200 plus videos and put together a platform? We'll go and do that for you.
So custom to that salon, you're
Custom to
doing
that
your own?
salon. We film. Our videographer flies out. We film everything inside your space, and it takes us about 4 to 6 weeks for a turnaround time. We edit all the videos, we create tests, and then we basically give you a platform.
Wow, I love
Mhm.
that. I love that.
I wish I'd
Because
had that 8 years ago. I wish that if someone
yeah.
had said, I would have paid anything. I would have given my life if someone, when we were like at our 2 locations, if someone would have said, hey, like if I knew that someone was offering that, I would have flown anyone in to film everything to us to have a streamlined, training program.
Well, as an online educator, I know how expensive videographers are and editing and all of that stuff. So that is a definite amazing product. So people that are listening right now are going to be like me and be like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. This is perfect. This is exactly what I need. And then there's the dreaded, where do I find these people? Because when we
Oh
place
yeah.
ads now in 2024, people don't want to do assistant training. They don't want to shampoo. They don't want to do these things. They want to go right into a suite. So, do you have any tips for finding the right person that really gets it and understands the gift that this training program is?
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people out there that still want to go through training programs. I think there's a lot of smart beauty entrepreneurs coming up that value education, but I don't think they want to go through it for 2 years. I think that they want to get in, train me on what you know, train me on the business skills. I need more technical, everything. Give it to me quick, give it to me fast. Let me start building, then put me out on the floor. So I think having opportunities inside your business, whether that be booth rent or commission, having them be able to scale in your business, maybe having some sort of leadership team, management, stockholders, whatever that looks like you cannot cap your people. The more opportunities and freedom that you give your people, the higher your retention is going to be. I'll say that again. The more opportunity and freedom that you give your people, the higher your retention is going to be, because they're going to go and seek elsewhere if they feel like they're in a box. So we do give our people the option to go rental or commission. We're now a hybrid blended salon, and it's beautiful. And never in my life would I have said that, because we were commissioned for about 8 years, straight commission. And I always thought booth rent salons are dumb. They're stupid. They're never going to make, they're only capped out. And here I am. And I'm like, never say never, because you never know what's going to come your way. But your people ultimately want freedom and flexibility, and people do want to learn. I'm very old school. And I know some people steer away from this, and they'll say, oh, I only want someone that's experienced, or I see these people posting this and I'm like, man, let me tell you what that does. If someone had passed up on me, say for instance, and let's say Liz, which was the owner at the time that I assisted underneath, if she had never taken a chance on me and had said, I'm only hiring people that have 2 years of experience in this industry, she would have passed up on a great hire, because I'm a quick learner. I'm very reliable. Like there's so many people out there that maybe in beauty school that don't have the experience that are going to become unbelievable artists in this industry right now. And if you pass up on these people, and like you could be passing up on some really great people, maybe they're your next educator in your salon and they're a part of your leadership team or management. So I'm old school. I love to recruit and hire from the schools. I say, if you do not have a rapport and a reputation with your beauty school, what are you doing? Get inside the schools. You should be teaching in there quarterly inside your beauty schools. You should be on social media. People should be coming to you for a job. And if your social presence is non-existent, then that's a red flag. That's a problem. People should see your culture inside your space and that you're having fun and want to be a part of your team. So I definitely think that like beauty schools are a big one. Social media is a big one. If you run some ads, go for it. Utilize all your clients inside your space. Say, hey, I'm looking for our next best team member. You never know who has a niece or daughter or someone in beauty school right now. Even utilizing on all your team members. If you've got other suite mates or booth rent artists, like telling them that you're hiring to put the word out, the more that you can put the word out and the more pools that you can jump into, because it's already so small, because we do have to hire licensed cosmetologists. Technically in the state of Oklahoma, you have to have your work permit. So our pool's pretty small. So you've got to get it out there. But I'm a big believer on getting in the beauty schools.
Absolutely. They don't make it easy though, I have to say. I've been in business a long time, and trying to get into the schools can
Yeah.
be a little tricky, unfortunately.
We're
Um,
so blessed. We've got good schools in Oklahoma, and everyone that we reach out to, they're like, when can you come teach a class? Like, they're like dying to get outside people in. The ones that are closed off, I don't get that. You have to place your people in schools. Like, they're looking for their forever homes. So why would you not want to bring outside owners in to teach a topic or, whatever their expertise is? I'm like, that's crazy to me that schools would be closed off on that.
Unfortunately for us, the best school in our area also owns several salons.
Mm.
So they like to pick the cream of the crop and
Yep.
for their own salons, and they don't
Yes.
like other salons coming in. The stock piece in the summit, I attempted it when I went to the summit and learned the whole system. I was like, oh my gosh, finally a road to retire at some point. There's, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It seemed like the perfect situation. And being in the system and knowing other people in the system, I've yet to hear anyone be successful with that transition. Do
Yeah.
you offer that to your
No.
people? Have you? No. See,
No.
so I haven't heard anybody.
I don't know enough about it. We started to dabble in it before my partnership split. So when we were Summit and then I split from my partner, we started to like bring it up to our two like key educators at the time. But it never fully blossomed, I'll say. It never fully went anywhere. I always just think like no one's going to love your salon like you do. It's going to be really hard to get people in and buy into your business. It's like some people might, but like you create your business, you're the most passionate about it. No one's ever going to treat your baby the way that you treat it.
But as far as the growth plan, I 100% agree with you. When you have to have constant ways for them to up level, up level, up level. For me and my staff, like most of my staff have been with me over 20 years. So the
Wow.
next step is that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's either buy into part of the business, or I guess
That's
they would have
rare.
to
I
do their
will
own
say
thing.
having people in your business for 20 years now in a salon, especially coming from someone that, I guess I've been in this over a decade now, but it's very rare. The average artist will stay in a salon for about 18 months. That is standard average. So
And
I also
frightening.
teach, it is frightening. I teach to people too, is knowing that when you hire someone on, they're likely going to leave and it's just a matter of time. And I hate to say that. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. And I think people get so caught up on thinking when you hire someone, and especially with assistants, it's like they pour into this someone so much, your heart and soul. And then in 2 years they leave and they're like, well, it didn't work for me. I'm going to do it on my own. And they build up a wall. So part of it is like mindset and us teaching people that if they left your salon better than when they started, you did your job and you can never stop hiring. Your eyes and ears always have to be open.
Yeah.
Always. If you're growing people for a living and you constantly, if you want to be an employer and have employees in your business and space, you got to constantly be hiring, because the minute that you're not, 2 or 3 people go somewhere else. And then you are hiring again, or you can't fill your chairs and then it's unproductive. And then you have like money left on the table. So I'm a big believer on just knowing that people are going to leave your business. And if they left it better than when they started, then you did your job as an owner. And I just know through the cycle of being in this for over a decade is people come and go constantly. And teaching that to other owners is hard. That's the hardest thing I think about our job, is letting go of people, because people get so wrapped up and they get so hurt. And I'm like, it's okay. With time, it will heal. And just
Right.
people have a hard time with that, really hard time.
And that brings me to my next comment. When I listened to, I couldn't figure out where to go in your podcast to hear you say your name. Because I know when I start, I just said, welcome back to the Ask the I didn't say, hi, I'm Elaine. So I went all the way back to your first episode. And you said, I found this amazing space. And I was so excited because it looked like shampoo sinks were there and I wouldn't have to do the plumbing. I'm like, I'm relating. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me. This is me. This is me. And then you said, and then my friend that I was working with said, do you want a partner? And I literally, my stomach dropped. And I was like, no, Lacey, no, don't do the partnership. I'm literally talking into the phone and and I only listened to the one episode and I'm thinking, I want to ask her if she's still with that partner because I would bet my life savings she's not. And I hate that I was right because I don't know you. I don't know anything about your business and it has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
Partnerships are so incredibly difficult. I have yet to see a partnership start in a business and end in a business when the business is no longer it never lasts because it's just two, independent, passionate entrepreneurs constantly butting heads. It's even more intense, I think, than a marriage because I think in marriage you end up picking someone who may have traits that you don't have and you complement each other. Where in business, it's kind of you have too much in common and there's too many things that you have to agree on.
Yeah.
So
Partnerships are fun, and I could talk all day about partnerships.
yeah,
I was in a partnership for 6 years. 6 years is a long time, and
that is a long
especially
time.
when 3 months into it, you realize you made a huge mistake. 3
Wow,
months
that
into it, I
quick.
was like, "Lacey, what are you doing?" Very different people, and let me tell you, we grew a very successful company. We did together, but with time, and I think what changed me was having a baby. So she already had 2 kids. She was about 8 years older than me. She had 2 kids. She was so invested in her family and kids at the time that who was running the business? Me. Who was doing
You always feel like somebody's pulling more weight than the other. Even if it's ebbing and flowing, you're always like resentful of each other.
Someone will always pull the majority of the weight, even if it's 51% of the weight. Someone will
Yeah.
always do more. And so that's why I don't believe in 50-50 partnerships, but I do believe in partnerships, maybe 60-40, 70-30. Someone needs to have the majority say. And I wish going back that, you know, there's of course a lot of mistakes I made, but I learned a lot and it really brought me to where I am today. If I hadn't went through that and been resilient for those 6 years and stuck it out, oh my gosh, I learned a lot. It grew me. I grew up through that in my 20s through my partnership,
Absolutely.
but it was really hard. I mean, I cried a lot. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of pain and tears, but it did bring me a lot of success as well, and it taught me a lot. And so I'm very thankful for it. But I do say when someone says, "Me and my friend are going to go open a salon," I'm like, "Hold on a second, hold on." Like I always tell them, I said, first of all, you need to have very clear roles of who does what to a T. Clear roles. Who is doing what in the business? The money, you got to be very crystal clear on the money, on like who's getting what. Are you going to pull a draw? Like that stuff has to be nailed down, and then prepare for the divorce. You need to know what's in place.
Prenup. You need
And
the business prenup.
you do need a business prenup. What's going to happen when you separate? Because even like, I hate to say this, but maybe one of you gets sick. Maybe someone passes away. Maybe someone moves states. Maybe someone stops doing hair. It's likely a matter of time before you are no longer partners. And what's the buyout going to look like? Like prepare for all that. That's all I say. And people don't think about that. They're just so in the honeymoon phase and
Never going to happen
excited
to
and
me.
like,
Never going to happen to me. No
yeah,
way. She's my
no.
best friend. Yeah.
I know 2 salons specifically, one in Georgia and one here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that are partners and have been partners for 15 plus years. There's the balloons going off. Love that.
Where'd that come from?
It was the 2, I guess, when you hold up 2.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys listening right now can't hear it, but I held up a 2 and like balloons went off on the screen. It was great. These 2 partnerships, I always say that people in these partnerships that I know, I say they're superhuman and they're very godly people because they just know they don't have hard feelings. They don't hold resentment. Like they just love. And I'm like, it really takes 2 very loving, forgiving people, or else a partnership's not going to work. And I say they're superhuman because most partnerships don't work out. They just don't. Statistic wise, you are way more likely to fail.
So let's segue that into the assistant and trainer relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend as far as, for me right now? I know that in the cut department, I've always had trouble getting the person wanting to even take on an assistant. They've been in the business, almost 40 years. They're fully booked, they're jam packed, and they're just like, I don't like other people touching my clients. I like doing it myself. So how do you find the right person in your salon company to take on that assistant, and how does it benefit the mentor versus the mentee? Like, how do you promote it to the staff that they would want to do this level of training?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll say taking on an assistant is not for everyone. I think there's a lot of people that should never take on assistants. Maybe they just don't have that servant heart to give. Maybe they're fine with their guests. If someone has a lot of pushback and they've been in this industry for 20 plus years, they have to want it. And if they don't, I don't think you're going to push that want onto someone else. But I also think it starts by leading from example. If you are the owner in a business and you take on an assistant and people see your business around you start thriving, they see your numbers start taking off, they see your lifestyle start to change, how can they not want a piece of that and a part of that? So they see that. But if you are stressed, you're yelling at your assistant, you're not making any more money, you're doing it all wrong, they're not going to want to do that. They're like, why am I going to take an assistant? Look how stressed out she is. So you have to lead by example, first off. And I think when people see that, they're going to want to be a part of that too. And if not, then not everyone should take an assistant. There are some people that I know that I'm like, they're great stylists, but they're not ever going to take on an assistant. And that's perfectly fine. You have to be okay with that. So there's a time and a place to become a leader inside your salon.
And do you recommend that the person training the assistant, do they pay part of the assistant the way that the summit did, or do you have a different system for the pay that way?
Yeah, so I think it's based on your business model. So I will start off, if you are a booth rent salon and someone
We
in your
can't do
salon,
booth rent in PA, but
I
I'm
think
sure
you're
there are
the only
people.
state though, right?
Yeah, of course we are.
Okay, so only 40 and 49 other states can do booth rent. Yeah, it's that to me is wild, but
It-
I mean,
yeah,
I respect it
exactly.
too. Um,
We also can't buy wine in the grocery store like anywhere else in the country. Like we have weird, PA is a weird state
it's
with stuff like that.
2024. Come on.
They didn't get the memo.
They didn't get it. So yeah, if you are more of a rental, so it's based on your business model. If you are more of a rental, I don't think the salon should be paying for your assistant. So my educators right now, I've got Samantha Matthews and Megan. Both of them take on their own assistants and they are on their own payroll. The salon is not paying a dime of those assistants, right? There are so many perks though that the salon provides. And when you work at Salon Lace, everyone goes through our assistant program. We don't hire any outside renters in. You have to go through our assistant program. That's like the entry. That's the fee to even get into Salon Lace. But there's so many things we provide, like photo shoots, personal branding for all of our girls. Like there's a huge benefit of even just being a team member and being an educator because we provide so many benefits to our team. If you are commission based, so let's go on the other realm for a second. I do believe that the owner should have some skin in the game and the educator. So let's say you have a veteran stylist of 8 years. She's ready to take on an assistant. Is she going to pay fully for that associate? No. I think that the salon should go half. So let's say that you're paying them a rate of $10 an hour. $5 would come from the educator and $5 would come from the salon. So you guys meet in the middle. I do not think that the salon should fully pay for it. I think that it'll take away from the appreciation and then maybe using and abusing of the assistant, that the educator has to have some skin in the game and financially pay for it in some way.
And then does the trainer get the commission on any services that the associate does?
I've seen both ways, to where the educator does get a piece of it. I would say not a lot, whether that be 1%, 3%, and even continuing after that. So what's the perk? Like, let's say I grow all these artists inside your company. I love the idea of even services after. So let's say they go out on the floor, they're a level 1, level 2, level 3, or whatever your system is, of them getting a portion as long as they're staying in the business, and the more successful that they get, that educator getting a piece of that. I really do like that.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, that's very clever.
We didn't do that because it wasn't like we didn't know about it, but knowing what I know now, if I could go back, I would have done that. I would have said yes, 3%, 2%. Like then it also gives them an incentive to keep pouring into those people. They're going to keep encouraging them and growing them and cheering them on because they know that their success, they get a little piece of that success.
Brilliant. Because the other thing is, for the mentor in the salon, they're butt hurt just as much if their assistant gets frustrated and isn't on the floor fast enough and leaves to go open a suite. They feel the same way we did. Like, oh my gosh, I put all that time into them. So by them being able to nurture and continue to partner with them and feel like, because there would be a little bit of resentment if you're the one doing all the training and then the salon owner is getting these fabulous stylists and you're like, oh, now I have to train another one and another one and another one. So I really like that piece. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I think too, though, for the educators, like when you take on an assistant, there's so many more opportunities. You have a whole nother set of hands. So the opportunities outweigh the like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Like I believe in like the educator cannot do their job without the assistant. Like that is how hands-on together you are. Your schedule relies on your assistant. And if you didn't have an assistant, you wouldn't be able to get more people in a shorter amount of time, that you'd be screwed and then you wouldn't be making as much money. Like at the end of the day, you take on an assistant for selfish reasons saying, I want to get more people in, I want to make more money. Then we all know, I don't know, year, 2, 3 years down the road, you really start having a shift in your mind and it becomes more about the assistant and you saying like, I really want to pour into these people, but everyone takes on an assistant in the beginning for selfish reasons because they want to make more money. Maybe they want to grow their team and stuff, but essentially it's like, I just need help. My back hurts. I've got carpal tunnel, all the things. They just need help.
I just love the differentiation for the salon owner. Like for my salon to be able to say, we have an organized training program with a clear path of a 6 month or 4 weeks, whatever it is that you're telling us to do, of saying that to them, because there was nothing worse than applying for a job back in the 80s when I was looking for my first job and them saying, for the first 2 years, you're going to be shampooing, tearing foils, sweeping hair and folding towels, and you're not going to be touching a client for 2 years. It felt like a prison sentence. Luckily for me, I moved up much quicker. I was only a month before I got on the floor, but I was not the norm because I was just like, I'm not doing this 2 year sentence.
Yeah.
I need to do this quicker. But a lot of people, once they hear that, it's almost like they get to feed it before they even start. Like, oh my gosh, 2 years, And to your point, now that these are here and now that everything is quick, 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 people don't want to wait 2 years. So
They don't.
I am so excited about this program. When we hang up, we'll be talking to you about taking this program for my own salon, because this is something that we really, really need. And I will, once I get in there and see it and see how wonderful it is, I'm happy to share with others, because I think that the industry needs people like you and I that are passionate about helping the next generation and making up for what the beauty schools don't really have enough time to do. The system's very broken, and I'm just thrilled that you've picked up a piece of what is definitely missing, what's hugely needed, and just think it's awesome. So tell people how they can find you, because if they're anything like me, they're getting ready to Google it right now.
Yeah. So you guys, my main platform, of course, is Instagram. It's at Lacey_Gebo. That's LACEY_GEBO. Mostly everything. You'll be able to find all of our programs. You'll be able to get on the AU wait list. So we only launch it a couple times a year. I will give you guys in on a sneak peek. We're going to relaunch again in October. So if you're listening right now, you can get on the wait list for October. And then lead is in October as well. But you do have to go through the AU before you go into lead. We do have a guide too. So if you're like, where do I start? I want to get started right now. We have an ultimate assistant guide. It's an incredible tool and resource. It's a link in Canva. It's a 100+ page document for your handbook, your policies, procedures. It's got commitments in there, contracts, social media commitment for your assistant. It's got bingos, fun games, a 9-month calendar, like anything and everything you can imagine, from like opening duties, closing duties, assistant responsibilities, and you can tailor it to your brand. So it's already a template in Canva. But we do have that as well. And you can find that on my Instagram. And then you can also follow us on the podcast. So I have a podcast as well. Thank you to Elaine for having me on hers today. But we have the Level Up with Lacey podcast. We give away a ton of free resources and fun things on the podcast. So you can hang out with us there as well.
I love that. So be sure to reach out to Lacey. And thank you, Lacey, for being here. And thank all of you for being here and listening. We will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.